Hi, I'm Sameer Jain, offering my take on Germany in beautiful Freiburg Cathedral. So, Germany is now finally preparing for the post Merkel era because this term is going to be Merkel's last, and both the CDU and the SPD have begun to think about what comes next. So this is about more than the next candidate. It's an interesting period. The SPD is struggling with the existential crisis of European social democrats that has already swallowed their comrades in France, in Greece, Netherlands, Austria. And the CDU has been the governing party for so long that it has forgotten how to do policy that goes beyond what is immediately achievable, and it now faces the additional challenge of the AfD. So I think that the Berlin of tomorrow will be a very different place. It is more uncertain, it is more active, and it is certainly less boring. One thing, however, that has not changed is, or at least in my view, the political class still lacks a vision for Germany's international role in the 21st century. Where does this road lead? No one knows. So Germany, its leaders, as well as its people, they really do not know what kind of a country Germany wants to be. So ironically, the country that gave the word leitmotif does not seem to have one for itself. And I'm not being harsh, these are just my impressions. So Germans take pride at having moved beyond ideologies, that's true, as captured by a quote attributed to a former Chancellor, Helmut Schmidt. So people who have visions should go and see their doctor. So Germany's aversion to a political vision used to be a sensible choice. But it looks like it's become a fetish that is now hampering Germans' ability to act in this new era. So for a long time, Germany navigated around this problem by supporting the EU, and this continues with the new government too, which has made Europe its defining narrative. So this, I think, reflects a genuine belief that more Europe is required to address current challenges, but it also reflects an uncertain Germany passing the buck to Europe when it comes to, say, a vision. The problem is the EU is struggling to formulate foreign policy positions too, and on things like on greater power politics, the EU remains very dependent on the US, and it struggles to find common positions, and we've seen that in the riffraff between Merkel and Trump recently. And the international scene is increasingly uncertain. It's getting more and more dangerous, and all the while Eurosceptics voices, these are rising in many member states. So Germany's main focus at the moment is keeping the EU together, but beyond this, it seems to have very few ideas for where this EU should ultimately go. So PESCO, the Permanent Structured Cooperation on Defense, is a good example. Germany overruled France's preference for an ambitious avant-garde group of participants because Germany wanted to keep as many European partners as possible involved. And the issue with this is it rendered the whole idea largely useless. So the German position on the future of the euro is also unclear, and rumors persist that Germany wants to install Weidmann as head of the ECB when Draghi's term as president ends next year. So Weidmann is head of the German Bundesbank and known as the only member of the ECB's governing council to oppose most of the measures that Draghi took to save the euro during the 2015 crisis. So moving on outside Germany, commentators are questioning his understanding of the basic tenets of modern economics and central banking. Installing Weidmann as ECB head would be understood by many as a statement that Germany does not really care about its South European Euro members. But it is unclear whether this is a fact. Is this really what Berlin intends? So Germany has a government which, despite its familiar makeup, faces very different, markedly different political environment, and this new environment will inevitably require changes in governance, and my hope is that one of these changes will be spending more time thinking about Germany's vision for Europe rather than merely trying to hold it together. One of the great dangers of the Trump era is the emergence of a power vacuum in Europe that could allow Russia to test America's security guarantees on the continent, and Germany has taken on ever more responsibility in recent years, but its persistently inadequate military capabilities and a prevailing pacifism amongst many Germans has kept the country hesitant towards military intervention. So in the Baltic states, Poland and Eastern Europe member states, their trust in the West is waning. Germany, I think, needs to lead solidarity with the states on the front line. It also needs to push for common measures on non-proliferation, terrorism, border controls. So Germany's next government in a few years also has the opportunity to make important progress in European defense policy that goes well beyond the timid beginnings of a permanent structured cooperation. The EU is divided, but reforms are possible, and there is a big debate about what Germany does with its own defense spending. Those of us following the press would know what Trump had to say to Merkel. But just as important as this is the signal that Germans send to other members of the EU. So one powerful way of incentivizing greater investment would be for defense expenditures to be excluded from the Maastricht criteria to allow for additional investments. So there's a lot going on around protecting defense spending from those budgetary caps that would accommodate the Southern Europeans and give a big boost to EU's defense. Yet the German spirit of compromise and consensus could ensure that Europe grows close once again and protects itself from dangers more effectively. So this is a good time to sort of check out what's happening in Germany, and I'll keep you posted. Thank you so much for listening in. Auf Wiedersehen.